What is a scientist? What is a scientist? Do you know? Yes, you do. It is you and me. It is you and me. We're all scientists. We are all scientists. First grade scientists, first grade thinkers, experimenters, analyzers. Before we move on to our next series of experiments, actually, we're going to go into some engineering, not exactly science next. But before we head off into another realm of study, I'm going to have you reflect a little bit on our scientific process, the steps that we all took in trying to figure out what made magic milk work. So go get your science notebook. Go, go, go. Still working on my illustration. In case you're wondering, Maya, still working on it. And go ahead and reread and relook at what we did. Do you remember we observed a phenomenon? We had soap and milk, food coloring. We observed with our eyes. I asked why, why did our magic milk swirl all around? And you gave a hypothesis. You thought about it, I think. Asked some more questions. We compared milk to water. You observed some more. And then we compared water with milk, with using all our senses, all 5 senses. We looked, we tasted, we listened, we felt. Right? And through this observation, a lot of observation and comparison, we finally came to the conclusion of why magic milk moves around with soap. Yeah, give me a thumbs up. Do you remember all those steps? It's a long journey, right? So think about that as I read a book appropriately titled, What is a Scientist? And make those connections between my read aloud and our process of observing and hypothesizing and questioning magic milk. What is a Scientist by Barbara Len. A scientist is a person who asks questions and tries different ways to answer them. Did we do that, first graders? First grade Hannah wonders about fruits and vegetables. Are there this many peas in every pea pod? Asked Hannah. A scientist learns from her senses. Did we use all our senses? Yeah, we sure did, right? When we were comparing water and milk. Carney and Tiara play with a mixture of water and cornstarch. They try to decide if it is a liquid or solid. When I squeeze it, it feels like a solid, but it drips like a liquid, observes Tiara. A scientist notices details. Did we notice lots of details? Yeah, we looked really closely, right? When all the colors start swirling around. First grade Nate examines seeds inside vegetables. There are actually 2 kinds of seeds in the cucumber. The small ones are clear, discovers Nate. A scientist draws what she sees. Samantha shows how 2 liquids mix. The red drops beat it up inside the yellow liquid, observes Samantha. Did we do a lot of scientific drawing? Yeah, that's right. We did a lot of drawing what we see, not what we think we see. A scientist writes about what happens. Oh, yeah. I can feel some of you nodding your head. Yes, we did do a lot of writing, didn't we? Tim records his observation. The checker and pencil landed at the same time, but not the feather, writes Tim. Yeah, it's really helpful to write and draw so then scientists can remember all their observations. A scientist makes comparisons by measuring. Amelia and Corey are measuring weights with the balance scale. Amelia, this side of the balance is higher because it is lighter, demonstrates Corey. Were we careful with our measuring when we added the drops with the food coloring? Yeah, we were pretty careful. Ooh, speaking of drops, a scientist must count exactly. Emily and Stuart count how many drops of water they can fit on a penny. We've put on 23 drops of water so far, says Emily. Ooh, this is a really fun experiment, especially when you're learning about water. A scientist looks at objects carefully to decide how to sort. Zoe and her group organize the shoes and boots in different ways. You guys, I think this boot is longer, decides Zoe. A scientist designs experiments to test predictions. Did we do that? We sure did, right? We designed an experiment using water instead of milk. Jessie plants seeds at the top of one cup and the bottom of another. I think the seeds that I planted at the top will grow better than the ones at the bottom, predicts Jessie. A scientist experiments by trial and error. That means doing something over and over again and changing it. And we'll be focusing on this particular step and process with our next unit, engineering unit. Nick uses a foam meat tray to make a flying object. I added a blob of clay and some paper clips on the front, and now my meat tray flies farther, explains Nick. A scientist thinks logically. That's a big word. Thinking logically means, thinking in steps. Step 1, step 2. So what is step 3 might look like? Did we do that? Sure we did. Shravani explains how she learned about the compass directions. When I ride home at the end of the day, the sun is going down over there. So that must be west, figures Shravani. Shivani. Sorry, Shivani. Said your name wrong. I added an R. A scientist keeps trying over and over, and that's hard. That's very hard for first graders. I know you want to make things work the first time, and this is something we will focus on in our next unit, is that scientists, they don't give up easily. They try things over and over and over again. Charlie and Stuart try to build a tower as tall as possible. Stuart, we finally got more than 10 to stay on, shouts Charlie. A scientist has fun. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I had fun making magic milk. Jeff and Teresa experiment with water. Let's see if we can fill up the tube through these holes, suggests Jeff. Oh, nice little summary. Scientist is a person who asks questions, learns from her senses, notices details, draws, writes, measures, counts, sorts, tests predictions, experiments, thinks logically, keeps trying, and has fun. That's what a scientist is. Yeah, that was a good one. So check out the questions that I have for you that's attached to your activity. All right, ciao, ciao, Bambini. I hope you know what a scientist is, right? It's you and me. Yeah.